We knew it was coming and it's been eagerly anticipated. Frontier just delivered their first developer log of the year, outlining their plans for the next year ahead for Elite Dangerous, and in this video we're going to go through everything we just learned. Of all the years since FDev turned the fortunes of Elite Dangerous around, what they had in store for 2026 was always bound to be one of the most crucial and interesting, being that the retail version of the game is now heading into its 12th year. We've had 2 years of free updates and refreshes to existing systems, plus 8 new ships and a starport delivered into the game, first via ARC's early access before themselves going free to access. And whilst we know that Elite isn't FDev's biggest earner by a long shot, it is their flagship title, and one that is doing rather well despite its age. Given those factors, the February devlog was always going to be somewhat of a litmus test for the company's future commitment to the game, so allow me to just take any doubts or concerns you might have off the table right from the start. Not only have we been given a top level roadmap for the year, something that has been working very well for FDev these last 2 years, but the year ahead is stacked. We once again have new ships entering the game, the first of which is imminent in fact, but there's also loads more besides, so let's drill into it. The developer log took the form of a pre-recorded series of interviews hosted by community manager Phil Weeks with various members of the Elite Dangerous team, each talking about their particular field of expertise, which was really great to see. And it opened with a high level roadmap for the year ahead. The Elite roadmap is always going to be very high level so as not to delve into any spoilers, but it does supply the all important intended cadence for the year so that we know roughly what to expect and when. Once again, the year has been divided into 5 phases as it was last year, with differing content in each phase. Unsurprisingly, we're in phase 1 right now, and the next new ship to enter the game, which was teased by the company on Friday, is the Kestrel Mark II, which is arriving next week on Tuesday the 24th of February. We'll talk more about the Kestrel in a moment. The operations update, which was originally scheduled for the end of the year, is now scheduled to arrive as part of phase 2 in April, which will also see the release of another new ship. Phase 3 is slated for the summer, and that will see the release of not 1 but 2 new ships. Phase 4 is scheduled for the autumn with another new ship alongside what Frontier is describing as a reboot of an existing feature in the game. Again, more on that in a moment. And finally, this winter will see the release of the 6th and final ship of the year. Yes, you heard that correctly. If you haven't been keeping count, there will be 6 ships in total this year, which is 2 more than in previous years. But as I mentioned, the roadmap is just a top level overview. There's a lot more coming this year that didn't make the graphic, so let's get into those extra details as we continue through the devlog. Let's talk first of all about the Kestrel Mark II. The Kestrel is a fast, highly manoeuvrable, combat dedicated small ship built by Core Dynamics. During the conversation with Elite's game director Piers Jackson and executive producer Gauthier Vercaer, it was noted that the Kestrel's appearance is part of an effort to rebalance the game somewhat and give meaningful purpose to small ships. Every new ship we've seen up to this point, with the exception of the Mark V Cobra, has either been a medium or a large vessel. A number of the new ships of late, as well as the now expected native SCO support, have also featured dedicated specialist Mark II modules, and the Kestrel is no different, featuring large specialised Mark II thrusters which you can see set into the ship's wings gimballing as it manoeuvres, and a new Mark II weapon. The Mark II thrusters provide extra manoeuvrability over and above what you would normally expect to see when the ship is boosting and manoeuvring at the same time, making it extremely nimble as well as fast. Among its complement of weapons, it's also capable of supporting a Mark II version of the shock cannon. The standard shock cannon is ordinarily a tech broker unlock, but the new cannon on the Kestrel has the added bonus of firing a plasma slug that derives its ammunition directly from the ship's fuel tank, something that can only normally be achieved with an engineering experimental effect on plasma weapons. This literally means that as long as the ship has fuel, its Mark II shock cannon can fire. Whilst not as heavily armoured as its medium or large counterparts, it appears that the 5 hardpoints of the Kestrel will hit extremely hard, and it has the manoeuvrability to mean that, in the right hands, it should be very difficult to hit. As you might expect, details remain under wraps regarding which Elite feature will be refreshed during the Phase 4 reboot this autumn, but Gauthier described it as a quote core system that impacts many aspects of the game itself end quote. He also mentioned that the team were looking at what players had been doing with the original version of the system. Piers mentioned that whatever the system is, it is quote deeply situated within the actual core of Elite end quote, and that they'd been looking at it for quite some time, thinking that it needed some TLC and that they're anticipating adding some new features around it. It's obviously anyone's guess what feature the team are revisiting. It occurred to us here that they might well be describing the BGS, which has taken quite a hit in functionality and usefulness since the launch of colonisation, but that really is just a guess at this point, and no doubt we will hear more about the team's plans as the year progresses. The next big feature to hit the game is, however, going to be operations, and it's this that took up the larger part of the devlog. Whilst the initial deployment of the feature will ship with a number of different operations that vary in scope and size, as well as feature set, some focusing on ship gameplay, some concerning themselves with on foot and some featuring both, Piers was keen to point out that really operations itself is a content deployment platform that can handle any number of new missions being deployed into it as things progress. During part of the conversation around operations with designers Curtis Griffiths and Michael Staniszewski, it was stated that the initial suite of operations will contain both small and large ops, and then the feedback the team get from that initial deployment will drive new operations that they plan to deploy throughout the year as we move forward. That's new content that doesn't appear on the more broad, overarching, high-level roadmap we spoke about at the start. Operations themselves were described by the team as group-based scenarios that can be joined and participated in from anywhere in the galaxy that has a starport, and players from different parts of the galaxy can participate together in the same operation easily and, importantly, quickly. A trailer that was shown featuring an on-foot infiltration of a megaship by a team of 4 players showed the team leaving a previously unseen mini fleet carrier owned and operated by Frontline Solutions, so we're expecting that operations will be accessible via the fairly ubiquitous Frontline Solutions desk that is a feature of all major starports. As well as hooking up with friends no matter where they are in the galaxy, there will also be a lobby system to allow players to join together with other random commanders. There will be different levels of difficulty, and the team advised commanders to consider taking on different roles within the team to ensure success. Whilst the operations themselves are not exclusively linked to power play, you will be able to choose to do power play versions of the operations, and in doing so choose a power and a star system to undermine as a result of completing the mission successfully. When completing operations normally, you'll get credits and what was described as the more usual mission rewards, so we're guessing opting in on influence, materials and reputation, etc. But when doing a power play version, you'll gain merits as well as the undermining influence. For completing any version of an operation, you will additionally receive a new, as yet unnamed, in-game currency. This new currency can be spent on modules with unique effects, new engineering blueprints, mods for on-foot weapons and armour, and other things as well which weren't elaborated on. All the while the team was speaking about operations, there was footage being shown of the on-foot megaship infiltration operation from multiple perspectives. In that footage is clearly visible a series of changing objectives in the top right of the player's HUD, guiding the team through the ship to their next task or location. At various points they were being tasked with defending positions from an assault, whilst a data download completed, rebooting a megaship reactor and being asked to find power regulators on the ship, etc. In an interview that was published before Christmas on the Epic web store, it was stated that the megaship scenarios would take account of the fact that large portions of a megaship interior are in 0G, and so throwing a grenade, for example, will see the handy pineapple of death travelling in a straight line until it interacts with something, rather than being pulled toward the floor as is obviously seen on planets. This feature also raises the question of what happens to downed teammates or adversaries. Do they also float when disabled rather than falling to the floor? None of these features were shown in the gameplay that FDev have shown so far, and it should be noted that as well as this being very much a work in progress build with, quite frankly, anything possible being subject to change, the megaship the team was shown approaching did feature rotating ring sections, and that would then give a form of artificial gravity, albeit one based on actual naturally occurring forces and not hand-waved science magic deck plating, etc. It's possible then that different sections or compartments of a megaship invasion will feature different gravitic environments. All very intriguing. From what we can tell here, our initial feelings that operations are essentially the Elite Dangerous version of an instanced dungeon or raid that you might expect to find in a more traditional MMO seems to be correct, right down to the unique rewards. Toward the end of the discussion with peers, in very general terms, he noted that there are still a lot of mysteries in the galaxy and that the story was continuing and would be ramping up as the year progresses. He obviously didn't want to say any more for fear of landing spoilers, but he did say that the narrative would be building through all of the year's phases and that the plan was possibly for what he describes as a bigger punch at the end of the year, but that they'd see how things go. Dev time is obviously dev time, but that at least is the plan. Again, this is something that doesn't appear on the roadmap but is sure to be a big part of the year ahead nonetheless. We're into year 3 of Elite's rebirth, and I'm very pleased to report that it's showing no signs whatsoever yet again of slowing down. We've a packed year ahead of us with 6 new ships, the launch and deployment of multiple operations, a central feature reboot and yet more narrative points, and it all kicks off next week on the 24th of February with the launch of the Kestrel Mark II. What are you looking forward to most in 2026? What new ships would you like to see, and are you looking forward to putting the Kestrel through its paces? Let us know in the comments below. If you've enjoyed this video, remember to subscribe to the channel so that you see all our videos and community posts, and if you'd like to support our work here at the Burr Pit, you can also join us on Patreon. Links to that and everything else we've talked about in this video you'll find linked below. That's it for now. Thanks very much for watching. We very much look forward to seeing you next time.